with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat flow. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated, folks. Get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let him know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Sports Professor. Oh, shit.
Yo, what up, friends? Sports Professor here with another installment of The Professor's Semanalmente. Yes. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you are subscribed at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. And please hit that like button. It helps us out in the algorithm, shares us with other people around the interwebs so they can get a little of this goodness as well, this beautifulness, this beautiful face you see. We come to you on a happy Monday, don't we? Let's get it popping. You know, we're going to kick this bad boy off. First of all, I'm happy to say we are going to have our guest, MLB insider Mike Wheby, will be joining us today. He has been a longtime member of the Ball and Buds crew, and we are super happy to have him on today to preview the MLB season coming up. That'll be in about 10-15 minutes, but first, I want to go ahead and go through the headlines and as well talk a little bit of March Madness, and we'll get Michael's opinion on March Madness as well. So why waste any more time? Why shall we? Let's keep this thing moving. First of all, sad news. Rest in power. Rest in power to George Foreman, former heavyweight champion of the world, passed away over the weekend at the age of 76. Again, a former two-time heavyweight champion, including one time at 45 years old. Then he parlayed that into a career of being a salesman for products, including most famously the Foreman grill, which I actually have one sitting on my countertop, and I still use to cook steaks and burgers from time to time. Obviously, he was huge in the boxing world for so many years, and we'll get Clubber D's thoughts on this later in the week when we get our banter, brawls, and bravado on Thursday, which I'll talk more about in a second. But he just left a legacy of a huge Olympian, a person who cared about his family, who fought for legacy and all of the good things. So, and yes, thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. Canteen coming through from The Bottom Line Sports. Make sure you check us out tomorrow night, The Bottom Line Sports, 8 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, y'all, it's going to be a huge week for Ball and Buds. I'll get to that in just a second because the George Foreman news is more important at this point, but thank you for sharing, sir. I appreciate that. George Foreman, again, passed away over the weekend at the age of 76. We send his family and obviously, our deepest condolences and prayers here from Ball and Buds. But a salute to a long-lived and, formidable life. A lot of success, not only in the boxing world, but also in the business world. He was just a well-known personality, including the Rumble in the Jungle when he fought Muhammad Ali, right? That's probably the most famous match I would assume that he had. I can't think of anyone other more famous. So, but then again, parlaying that into bigger business career afterwards was something that's not done by many. Also doesn't hold on. As you can see, with fame sometimes comes some of that bad part, as we saw with O.J. Simpson, who had a similar career arc and then ended up, well, allegedly. That's what we'll say. Moving on to more happier news, J.C. Escara, Jay-Z Escara, I should say, because they're Colombian, was driving Uber, working as a substitute teacher. Y'all, he made the Yankees roster, on the active roster. You got to go see this video. It's emotional. He calls his mother. He tells his mother he made the team. His mother starts bawling, says, "We're going to New York," and you can hear all the practices she had to drive him to, all the things she had to sacrifice for him to get there. You could hear it in her tears, in her happiness, and all that. So I absolutely despise the Yankees, and I don't really like saying positive things about them. And this isn't really positive about them, more than just a family. But shout out to Jay-Z. Jay-Z. I mean, it's New York, so it's probably valid. They'll probably start calling him Jay-Z. J.C. Escara. Salute. Moving on. Salute to Wisconsin's women's hockey team on their 8th national championship, coming from behind to defeat their nemesis, the Ohio State Buckeyes, 4-3 in overtime. This is a rematch of the past 2 years' championships game, with Wisconsin losing to the Ohio State last year. And now this year, junior Kristen Sims, shout out to her, scored a penalty late in the third period, and then in overtime sunk a sudden death game winner. So salute to Kirsten Sims and the Wisconsin women's hockey team, the Lady Badgers. In a absolutely crazy, mind-boggling upset. You've got to go see the video. It could be the most shocking upset in wrestling, NCAA wrestling history. I mean, the NCAA wrestling, not the WWE kind. Gable Stevenson, y'all. He's an Olympian. He's won world championships for us here in the United States. He took a 2-year hiatus to actually go work for WWE wrestling, and then decided to come back to college as a graduate student, only to be the best wrestler again. Now, let me put this in context. He wrestled for now 4 years, and he's only got 3 losses, and 2 of them came in his freshman season, which means he didn't lose for a years-long period. Let me set the scene for you. Saturday. Little Daniel Cormier, little DC on the mic. Shout out, brother. Shout out to DC. We love him here. Just the most shocking thing ever. Gable Stevenson is up 5-2 in the third period. Seconds winding down, like 25 seconds left. Wyatt Hendrickson, the underdog, just somehow goes for a single leg and was able to flip Gable Stevenson over and hold him for the 3-point takedown to go up 5-4. I apologize. It was 4-2, not 5-2. So he went up 5-4 and had to hold the best wrestler in the world down for 15 seconds. Or 10 seconds about. He was able to do it, and that is got to be, as DC called it, the most shocking upset in NCAA amateur wrestling history. Wyatt Hendrickson beats the absolute best wrestler in the world for the past 4 years, at least, Gable Stevenson. Mind blown is all I got to say about that. That is crazy. And I see perfect timing. I want to ask him if he actually saw this, and then we'll talk a little bit of basketball and then get into our baseball preview. But as I mentioned, we are happy to have on a member of Ball and Buds, a longtime member, actually. Him and Clubber D were the first members and friends of mine to join the crew here with me at Ball and Buds and do this on a consistent basis with me. And so I really appreciate him for all the time he's put in to help this network get off the ground, and as well as Clubber D and all the others that have streamed with us. So that being said, let me give him a little we'll give him a little Conan, I think, just as we say prayers up to our brother Conan, as always. Hope he's doing well. But we'll give him a little Arriba la Raza while we bring him in. Let me go ahead and get that up. Boom!
Yeah, let me speak on this. Arriba la Raza!
How you doing today?
I'm good, Omar. I'm good.
Let me speak on this. Arriba la Raza!
Hold on one second.
Let me speak on this. Arriba la Raza!
Air turned on.
Let me speak on this. Arriba la Raza!
Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you while I'm doing this.
Let me speak on this. Órale! Arriba la raza!
You can find me here on Bone.
Let me speak on this. Órale! Arriba la raza!
Not sure why my speakers are not working, but
Let me speak on this.
go ahead and, like I said, appreciate you coming on with us. Like, you've been a real big contributor for us, and obviously my friend for a long time. So I'm always happy to work with you, and we'll be doing more work this week. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Answer balls and so Mike Wheby will be joined by Clubber.
Let me speak on this.
Topics. All right, I can pause that now. That's enough of that. Just wanted to get that hyped up. Thank you. Clubber D tuning in. Yes, 8 p.m. Eastern. Check us out. We will be doing that. First, before we get into baseball and everything, I was just going to go into NCAA March Madness. But before, did you hear my story about Gable Stevenson in the most shocking wrestling upset ever? And while you talk that, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to jump out and jump back in so I can get these headphones working. Just fire away.
Yep. Yeah, I heard about that the other day, and it's pretty interesting. I think it would have been more impactful nationally if Gable Stevenson hadn't been kind of out of the scene for the previous 2 years. I know he came back because he had some eligibility left, and I heard about him kind of fizzing out of his WWE training and taking a shot at the NFL with the Buffalo Bills, and finding that to be a little more difficult than he might have expected. So it was unexpected, but it wasn't like he lost to me. I mean, he lost to a guy that was a previous champion too. So he took 2 years off, came back. I think it's just as incredible that he got back there as it is that that he actually took that loss. But good for both of them. Omar, I'm losing you here, man.
Can you hear me?
There?
Can you hear me?
Hear you now. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. No, I appreciate you going in and talking about that. Yeah, it is something that needed to be touched on, that it is not just some rando, but a former champion, a really great wrestler, but just the magnitude of the upset is kind of, I guess, what everybody was really surprised at.
Yeah, it's a big name to get a win over.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for carrying that while I jumped out. Once I jumped back in, the headphones were working. So it just must have been a glitch or something. So let's keep it moving. We are back. Let's talk. Do you mind talking a little March Madness before we get into some baseball?
Yeah, we could talk a little bit. I haven't watched a whole lot. But it's kind of hasn't been out in my wheelhouse this spring. So the only team I've watched.
No, that's okay. Let's just go real quick over a little bit of stuff. So first of all, this is the first Sweet 16 March Madness without a mid-major. So all of the schools will be from major conferences, including a record 7 from the SEC, as well as the Big 10 and the Big 12. And it's funny, I want you to comment on this. 10 most watched games of the college basketball season featured 12 teams, and 9 of those teams are in the Sweet 16: Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Duke, Florida, Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, and Tennessee. So the teams that get the most viewership are the teams that are being represented in the Sweet 16, those bigger schools. A lot of people are saying today coming out, oh, this is due to NIL and, the bigger schools now grabbing up all the people from the JUCOs and lower conferences and things like that. So please tell us how you feel about all this noise coming out of this March Madness.
Yeah, I thought Drake had a chance to actually push it a little bit, make it a little bit farther from what I saw. That their coach, he came over from the lower conference and basically brought his whole team with him. So, but yeah, I'm not surprised that the biggest schools with the most money have the best players and the best basketball teams. I mean, that's not
right.
ultimately. It's not like football where you have to have you have to have 15 to 18 phenomenal players to be a great, college football team. College basketball, you can have two studs, and the next thing you know, you're in the Sweet 16. Much smaller rosters, only 5 men on the court at one time. It's a lot different than that big SEC football that you see, but it's also kind of the same with the NCAA changing those rules. I think you're right. I think it has a lot to do with larger schools having more money, being able to spend more on better players. And I have a feeling that you're going to see this. This is what you're going to see. If there's a good player playing for Canisius or Old Dominion, he's not going to be there very long. He's going to be playing for Auburn or South Carolina or somewhere very quickly.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what the major detractor is today. Is that obviously the cream rises to the top. So the players that are in the JUCO that haven't been found yet, they're going to be found by these larger schools who are then going to take them to the top. But I mean, that's where they deserve to be due to the talent commensurate that they're providing. Just because they haven't been spotted yet doesn't mean they don't necessarily deserve the chance. And even vice versa, if you talk about some people maybe being retracted or relegated, for lack of a better term, in terms of like soccer, European soccer, that could help some of these kids who can now go down to the lower levels and dominate where maybe they weren't able to. So there's pros and cons to all of this coming out, obviously.
Yep, I agree. I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at them for making moves and getting their money, and welcome to America. Go get them.
I mean, I completely agree with you. I am in full favor of the NIL. I believe that they have amateurism was a bunch of BS that perpetrated for so long, almost 100 years or over 100 years, and finally was put to pasture when there's so many people, including coaches, administrators, fundraisers, boosters, making so much money off of the backs of the players who were making nothing. I'm with you. Go get paid. So right now, Duke is the favorite, but shout out to our local Maryland Terrapins with the crazy. Let me bring out Testudo for y'all. That's the Maryland mascot. I am an alumni of the University of Maryland. What a game winner last night. Derek Queen from B-More. When you come at the Queen, you best not miss, as they say in The Wire, with the 1-foot jumper. So shout out to that. Did you see that shot?
I did. It was definitely an old man moment for me where I looked over at my kids and I went, that boy traveled. But I'm glad I'm glad that it was an exciting finish to the game for sure.
He definitely took 3 steps. He definitely took 3, but I would not have called it either.
Say it 3 times a game. See the color of the beard? It comes out when I watch basketball games.
You got to swallow your whistle at that point, though.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right. Well, just as a side before we move on, and on the women's side of things, number 1 UCLA, number 1 South Carolina have advanced. Number 2 seeds TCU and Duke, and number 3 Notre Dame as well. The really main point that was put out this weekend was that South Carolina, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Texas, UConn, and LSU, that's 6 teams, all put up over 100+ first-round points, which is a new single-round women's March Madness record. The average margin of victory was 26.5. So you can say whether that's good or bad, again, that could be due to the NIL and to the transfer portal and things like that. Now, again, I don't think it fully is, but those things are why maybe this year we saw a little more chalkiness in terms of team advancing.
Yep, it's not hurting.
Yeah. Right, exactly. All right, cool. Thank you for your thoughts on that. Make sure y'all are subscribed to Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS as well. You can find Mike Wheby, our MLB insider, on X at Mike W. It is at the bottom of.
Nope, not anymore. Nope, I am off the socials. If you wanna find me, come to Virginia Beach.
All right. Well,
or find me here on Ball and Buds.
You send a message to Ball and Buzz, we'll get it to him. Yep. That's great. That's tremendous. I just figured you still were. I hadn't even got on X and looked for you in a while. I just figured you were. So anyways, all right, let's keep it moving into baseball, what we're here for. Opening day, again, We say that because the season technically opened last week. Japan, we had the Shohei Ohtani, Roki Sasaki, Yamamoto festival there versus the Cubs. So a lot of Japanese players really leveraging that fan base. But that was also a week and a half before we're going to start on the real traditional opening day this Thursday, when 28 teams, because obviously those teams are not going to play, 28 teams will play in 14 games scheduled throughout the day starting at 3 p.m. What do you think about that kind of prorated is a horrible word, that disjointed start to the season?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I kind of like being able to. I'm up early anyway, so I kind of like being able to turn a game on in the morning and watch that. The hype, Japanese crowd getting loud, watching. It really did get me kind of primed for the season. I wish it was a little bit closer to opening day, maybe the weekend before or something like that. But yeah, I think it's great. I loved watching it, and I think that as long as the Dodgers kind of have this pack of players, they should probably be there every year to give the Japanese fans an opportunity to go and cheer for their heroes and people they've watched being built up throughout their youth and the early stages of their of their professional career too. So I think it's great. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, baseball may be America's pastime, but obviously they've got a lot of Japanese stars that are starting to come into the league, and especially with what should be changing in Japanese free agency in the future, which will allow for players to come over earlier and things like that. We're going to be seeing a lot more of the Japanese players. And so, of course, it's a business. So, yeah, we know they want to make the money. They know they need to go there and leverage this fan base. But I agree with you. I mean, do it the weekend before at the most. Yeah. I mean, I literally thought when that was going on, I thought like you, okay, well, it's in the same week. So I'm going around and I'm supposed to be the sports guy, making myself look like a damn fool because I'm going around saying, oh, opening day is Thursday. I'm so excited. Come to find out, no, it was on the wrong damn week.
Yep. It's this Thursday, though, Omar, just so you don't get mixed up.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad we had you on this week and not last week then, because I guess that wouldn't have made sense, which is why I asked you originally 2 weeks ago, thinking that was whatever. Anyways, you talked about the Dodgers having this throng of players that are immensely talented. Shohei Ohtani, who we talk about all the time on this program, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, right? You got the Sasaki, you got the Yamamoto. Everybody's saying they had the best offseason in the NL, the Red Sox and the AL, however you want to look at it. But what are we thinking about the Dodgers? Don't give me your championship pick yet, but obviously they are favorites to repeat for a lot of people, not everybody, but the majority of probably a little over half. But they also have a little bit of a worry in their pitching staff. None of their pitchers that are currently on their staff have pitched over 150 innings in any time recently. Shohei Ohtani is coming back from an injury. So you need pitching when it comes to the playoffs, but they do have a good enough offense. Tell us your thoughts on the world champion Dodgers.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think the pitching is going to be their problem. I mean, they signed Blake Snell and no one even noticed in the offseason, right?
That's true.
I mean,
that's very true.
I mean, they're 7 could be Hall of Fame pitchers deep, starting pitchers. They've got nowhere for Clayton Kershaw to pitch right now. I mean, it's an absolute spoil of riches. It really is. I really do think they're turning into like the late 90s Yankees evil empire. They go out Tanner Scott and no one blinks an eye. No one even notices that that they're getting all these players and just building an all-star team. And that's how the rules are set up. I'm not knocking them. They're spending the money. That's real, United States American currency they have to write checks for. So I'm not, I'm not hating on them, but, it does kind of, build this scenario where it's Tiger versus the field. It feels like going into this season. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, I feel like that's the impression a lot of people have, and I'm with you. I mean, it's even more than just a all-star team. It's like a Hall of Fame team. Now, obviously, some of these people are still young, but I mean, if you're just looking alone at their offense, you're looking at three of the best offensive players in the last 10 years in baseball. And as you mentioned, they don't have a spot. And yeah, you're completely right. Yeah. As we look at their starting rotation, not any of them recently have pitched over 150 innings, but it doesn't mean that they're not talented. It doesn't mean they're not capable. And that's proven by, as you mentioned, Clayton Kershaw possibly not even having a spot in the rotation and he being their Hall of Fame franchise player for the past 15 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not to mention they've got Dustin May coming off of Tommy John. They really their farm system is loaded with arms. They've just got people that can come in one by one and just throw absolute darts. So it's going to be an interesting season.
If they can stay healthy, it definitely will. We'll get into our championship picks here in a little bit. We'll also give you our AL and NL MVP and Cy Youngs as we do every year. Shout out, David. Pleasure. Thank you for tuning in, sir. We really appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you subscribe to Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. Hit that like button. It is free. It helps us out in the algorithm. All right. Before we get to our teams, which will be the last questions I ask, let's keep going through a couple other teams here. Obviously, I hate the Yankees, but a lot of people may be Yankees fans that watch this show. Aaron Judge no longer has Juan Soto behind him as he is now signed with my New York Mets. On that note, let me just go ahead and get my Mets hat on for the rest of the program.
We can show our bias.
Yes, we can. And now Giancarlo Stanton is hurt. Yes, they did bring in players to round out the roster, but will he really have the support he needs without Juan Soto behind him to have an MVP year?
Yeah, it's tough. It depends, what version of Cody Bellinger are you getting? How long can Paul Goldschmidt stay a productive player that's feared in a lineup?
Right.
The bottom part of that lineup is not good. There are some real issues there with that team and that lineup that need to be worked out. And they'll do it. They'll go out and they'll do whatever they have to do to get some players. But losing Garrett Cole I'm not sure that there's another single player that's more important to their team in the league than Garrett Cole is to the Yankees. Losing him is just an absolute knife in the back for them. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to come back. I still think they're going to be a really good team, though. I would think they're probably going to finish right around the wild card when it becomes time. So, I think they're going to be good, but they've really got to work on that lineup, that not just the starting part of the lineup, but the depth, because we know these players aren't going to stay healthy all year. And right now, what they're going to be bringing out there is a good team, but it's not what you would expect the Yankees to have put together at the beginning of the season.
It's not what you would expect them to put out, and that's been the case the past few years, right? As people are looking at the Yankees and we're like, man, they're not making these free agent splashes aside from obviously signing Aaron Judge long term. They're not making the trades that they used to make. They did trade for Jazz Chisholm, but aside from that, they were not the Yankees. They were not our fathers and fathers Yankees, not grandfathers. That would have been too long ago. They were not our fathers Yankees. I agree. I think they're still going to make the wild card, but
I say that, and they went out and they got Max Fried, and they got the best closer in baseball, Devin Williams. I mean, they went out and they made some real important pickups here. They still have Jazz Chisholm. They still have Anthony Volpe. They have who I think is the best offensive player in the world. Is it enough?
And do they stay healthy? Again, is what I want to agree with you most on, because that's with the players they have and how they're built. They're relying an awful lot on health. And again, Stanton's already hurt. So, and as you mentioned, I completely agree. 100% on Garrett Cole. When he went down and I heard that news, I immediately said, well, that's it for the Yankees. They're done for the season. But I probably would not have said that about any other player except maybe Aaron Judge for the Yankees. So,
Yeah. And also one other thing before we get off that topic is, we're going to have to figure out what Jason Dominguez is. He can't be this wonder kid top prospect 8 years in a row. I don't understand how someone can't lose rookie eligibility, or if he's so great, why has he been in the minors for 7 years or however long it's been? It's time for him to, let it loose or get off the pot one way or the other. We're going to find out. We're going to find out this year, though, because I think he's going to get a lot of at-bats.
I mean, as you mentioned, he better, because he's been a prospect for 18 million years since we were all born. And they call him the alien. Well, these questions need to be answered because Wembanyama is the real alien doing what he did in his first 2 years in the league and in the NBA. So, all right, cool. Well, let's keep it moving then. How about the Philadelphia Phillies? A lot of people are asking, is this the end of their window? Have they run out of time? They still got Bryce Harper, who still may be in his prime, but everybody else is getting a little older. Pitching staff is still there. Zach Wheeler, obviously one of the best in the league. Aaron Nola, if he can stay healthy, great. What are your thoughts on this Philadelphia Phillies team?
Yep, I think that's a big, huge no. They've got 5 really good starting pitchers. They've got them under contract. Going out and getting Jesus Luzardo was huge for them this offseason. They've got a really good team that is really deep. They've got, above average players at every single position. That lineup is as dangerous as they come. I think it's probably the best lineup in baseball. Their offense is going to be better than the Dodgers. That team can hit 1 to 9. So, I don't think so. I think they're just as good as they were last year, if not better. And I think we're going to see them really make a push, but it's tough being in that, being in the National League right now. So their window gets a little shorter every day, but right now, no, I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was kind of a ludicrous question when I saw it in the article, but I was like, well, I'll ask it anyways, because obviously somebody's asking it. But I think you're right. I think they did make the right moves around the edges. The only thing is, you're right, the gauntlet that is the NL, not just the NL in general with the Dodgers, but the NL East, which is going to have them, the Braves, and my Mets, which are just going to be beating each other up all year long. So,
all year, yep.
All right, cool. Speaking of players who may be past their prime, we'll talk about a couple more here. Los Angeles Angels, can Mike Trout get 500 plate appearances? We haven't seen it since 2019, but when he did, he was MVP in the top 5 of the MVPs like 8 seasons in a row. So what do you think about Mike Trout comeback?
I can answer that question. Yes, he can't. And that's okay. That's all right. He can't. But the team's not great. They're better than they have been. They were honestly the team that I think did like one of the best jobs at going from where they were to where they are now. That seems a lot better than it was last year. It's still not good, but it's so much better than it was last year. And I love the idea of them bringing in guys like Travis d'Arnaud and Tim Anderson, guys with a lot of experience to fill bench roles. And Kikuchi was a pretty good signing. They might have gave him a little more than anybody else would have. But when you're a bad team trying to acquire good players, sometimes you have to do that. So are they good? No, they'll be fun. I mean, they've got Joe Adell and Jorge Soler hitting bombs out there. Hopefully they have Mike Trout, and I think they're going to be an interesting team. I think they'll be a fun team to watch. But outside of, watching at the end of a game, watching Ben Joyce and Kenley Jansen out there mowing people down, I'm just not sure they're going to be able to pitch well enough to make any real dent in that division. Wouldn't be surprised if this is the year that Trout actually gets traded.
Yeah, and Sideburn, who's not going to be playing for him? Anthony Rendon's bum ass.
Got him! Got him!
Well, side question: how do you feel about that? As a baseball purist, I am personally angry that Anthony Rendon would take such a contract leaving the Nationals, knowing that he did not want to truly play baseball anymore.
Yeah, it's weird. It's hard. It's a hard thing to mash up, right? Like I don't know where he was then when he signed that contract. He took the money. Would you have not taken the money if someone offered you that? The Angels could have not offered that ridiculous contract. I remember you see what hat I'm wearing. You see that I had to spend 5 years watching Chris Davis strike out hundreds and hundreds of times every year. I can say one thing: at least he's not playing, because if he doesn't want to play and he can't play anymore and he's playing, it's worse than what's happening now, right? They're able to play, Luis Renivo and get some of these young guys in there. They signed Young Mikata. They're able to play other people that want to play and that can play, as opposed to having to watch what I watched for 4 years, which was pumping dead weight into this lineup every single day, every day, just watching someone that just couldn't play anymore. No disrespect to Chris Davis. He was trying, but yeah, he'll hear it when he plays again, if he plays again. But no, I'm not mad at him. Get the money. The Angels, be better. Don't pay guys like that. There's a reason that the Nationals let him go.
I mean, at least, as you mentioned, at least Chris Davis actually cared enough to feel bad about his performance, which many people in that situation don't do. Like you said, many people in that situation will take the money and not care or think a second thought about it. But I mean, to play advocate and kind of defend the Angels, he was coming off of one of the best seasons for a third baseman, in a while. So they gave him a contract commensurate with his talent. They just didn't know that his mental health or his headspace or his love for the game or whatever it is just didn't allow him to want to compete anymore and would rather just sit out, which, again, as a baseball purist, it kind of hurts more than anything, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but, it's the nature of the beast now. People, there's a whole lot of money, generational money getting thrown around, and I don't blame him. It's not like this just happened. Like last year, he was like Shawn Michaels and lost his smile for baseball, right? This isn't new. He's always been a player that played, but it wasn't necessarily the most important thing to him. So yeah, he took generational money. He probably can't play anymore. He's going to keep cashing those checks though. And they decided to write those checks. So it's just something they have to deal with, just like those Bobby Bonilla checks.
No, don't bring that up. Don't you dare. Why would you do that to me? It's not even Bobby Bonilla Day yet. My season is already ruined. That horrible contract. I still can't believe we decided to do that. But you're right. He is going to continue to cash the checks. You're also right. There's no way he can come back, because I agree with Champ Ross. Shout out Champ Ross for tuning in. We appreciate you. He would be booed everywhere he went. I think at this point, most fans, at least real baseball fans that watch the game every week, know his story and know what happened and know kind of how they feel about him at this point. So I agree with that.
Another good thing about the Angels is that they've got like a real superstar in the minor leagues right now named Nelson Rada that's working his way up. I think he just turned 20. I think he's in AA, so we might have to wait another year or two to see him. But dude is electric. Beat 5 tools, can play incredible defense in center field. I think he might be pushing Mike Trout out as much as Mike Trout's injury.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It might be time to cut bait on him.
So looking like a little Ellie De La Cruz-ish is what you're saying. Is what I'm
not the same size. He's definitely not that size, but he is.
Okay.
he's got it.
All right. Well, you know who else had it, and a team that once had it, even though they used trash cans to bang around to win a championship, allegedly. The Houston Astros lost Alex Bregman to the Red Sox, and then decided to move their franchise player off of his career-long position of second base to throw Jose Altuve into left field where he has never played a day in his life? Are the Houston Astros throwing this all away when they have such good young pitching like Framber Valdez in the rotation?
I don't think so. I don't think they are. Everyone, you know what? I don't understand why everyone talked so much about Alex Bregman leaving that lineup, and I didn't hear anybody talking about Kyle Tucker leaving the lineup, because
true.
Kyle Tucker's just as an important piece of that lineup as Alex Bregman was. Him getting traded to the Cubs was a big jaw dropper to me. I was shocked. I thought that they were packing up and they were, putting the for sale sign in the yard. And then they signed Christian Walker. And you're like, what's happening here? I don't know what they're doing. But you know what? I look at them kind of the same way that I look at the Rays, where I go, it doesn't make any sense to me. And that's why I work the job that I work, and their GMs work the job that they work. Those two teams have earned the trust from me to say, let's see how it plays out. Let's see what we get. Do I think Isaac Paredes and Christian Walker or Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman? Absolutely not. They lost Justin Verlander and Ryan Presley. That's tough. It's going to be tough to come back from that. And
a lot of turnover.
But they deserve at least the benefit of the doubt to see where it goes. But you're right. I also wouldn't be surprised if they're a 75 win team too.
A lot of turnover. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going with about 75 wins, maybe 80 if they get lucky, but I'm with you on that 75 area. Now, that's a great segue. You mentioned one team, the Tampa Bay, or now the Sarasota Rays, and then you got the Oakland, not really, D Club's the originals team. Now the Las Vegas, but they're Sacramento in the meantime. Tell us about these two teams that will not be playing in a major league ballpark this year.
Yeah, I looked yesterday. I took a look, and I was wondering how they were going to put the Athletics in, like all the what were they going to say? What's the branding going to be? And every site that I went to, it just said Athletics. Like there was no city name, no nothing. So
even though they're playing in Sacramento, they're going to be in. We know where they're playing. Yeah, they will be in Sacramento.
And it's going to be tough for them to play in a tiny, not tiny dimension wise, but small fan wise place like that. But it's not like they were selling out in the Coliseum last year either. So it might be better for them to, play in a smaller park where they can, fill the place up and have it feel like, not feel like you're playing inside of the Grand Canyon. The Rays is a totally different situation. It kind of stinks what happened to their stadium, but their stadium was what it was. Anyone that's ever been there or even looked at it on TV can tell that it probably wasn't a terrible loss that stadium lost some of its structure, and they'll have to try again to rebuild that thing. So it'll be interesting. It'll be. I think it'll be cool to see some of these teams, especially those two teams that don't get a lot of fans there, getting to see them play in at least full houses. Right? There'll be smaller houses, but they'll be full houses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, D Clubs chimes in. Leave my Hayes alone.
Not mad at them. I like what they did this offseason too. They've gotten a lot better. They got some real stars on their team. So that is super fun. That is super funny you say that, because there are some people have talked about how good this offseason was for a team that does not have a home anymore. But another thing that people talk about is not just maybe the dimensions or the fans, but also the luxuries that a major league stadium would have versus minor. Now, I say that, and while I was thinking about that in my head, I then thought, okay, but the Oakland Coliseum has to be one of the worst stadiums in the history of stadiums. And as you so astutely mentioned, I've been with D Clubs to the Tampa Stadium, and it is a horrendous stadium. So you're right on both accounts. Yep.
And they need to go to Nashville. Bring them to Nashville. They don't need him in Tampa Bay. Sorry, y'all didn't support them anyways. When D Clubs took us, it was like maybe 5,000 people there. It was like this is horrid.
I know that I've seen that that AAA stadium they have in Memphis is absolutely gorgeous. It's right in the middle of downtown. They've got trains public transit that stops directly in front of the stadium. So I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up somewhere in Tennessee.
Hey, if my pops is watching right now, check on if there's a game this weekend because we will be in Memphis for the Grizzlies Celtics game Monday night on ESPN. So if there's a game on Sunday, pops, we should go hit up the Memphis Stadium. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. He says on a Friday night too, it was dead. Yeah. I mean, again, they just don't support their team there. That's all. Champ says Sacramento will support. They've been dying for an MLB franchise for a long time. Fuck John Fisher. Coliseum was a dump, but that was our dump. We love that place. Champ is a West Coast fan. He comes from the Bay Area, so we will take him at his word on all of this. I agree.
What a tough run for Oakland too, man. So, I mean, they've lost 3 teams in the last 5 years. That is such a tough pill. I do really feel bad for the fans out there. That stinks.
Like if I wasn't a Raiders fan, I wouldn't feel as bad because I wouldn't know. But when they moved from obviously being my team, I see the message boards, I see the articles, I see the people, very upset because they're losing their football team to Las Vegas. So I can empathize and I can say, geez, yeah, that sucks. And then, as you mentioned, just the magnitude of losing 3 teams on top of that within such a small period of time that's horrid, man. Sorry, champ. Sorry, brother. We apologize to you. Hopefully, Sacramento will be able to keep it around for a little bit, but it doesn't seem like that'll be the case. It seems like they're going to be in Las Vegas within the next 3 years if they can get that stadium built. So we'll see what happens. Moving on to the other club's member, because we got to pile on Clubber D as we're going to be talking some trash with him on our Pop Culture Banter Brawls and Bravado. Tune in Thursday night at 8 p.m. Shameless plug. His Chicago White Sox lost 121 games last season, the most since 1900. It is super hard to lose 121 games, and they're also the first time in franchise history they had consecutive 100-loss seasons. Of the 6 teams that previously lost 115 games, the 1936 Braves made the best improvement, winning 32 more games the next season, going from 115 losses to 83, so still being a losing non-playoff team. Where do you see the White Sox? Because, 60 and 102, if they could get that much improvement, would actually be really good for them, which is sad to say.
Yeah, they did something really difficult, right? They lost all those games, and then they got worse in the offseason. I really didn't think that would be possible, but they traded basically the only 2 good players they had. They let Moncada go. I know he hadn't been playing well, but he was a warm body that could play third base or second base for you. That team's in a bad spot. It's tough. They're not good right now, and they don't have a lot in the minors waiting for them to come up. There's no hope. It's really tough. Another
Clubber D retorts and says they will win the division this year.
The baseball division? The baseball division? Or what division? What's that?
The toilet bowl division. That's what division.
Yeah, and it's weird because that division's not. I mean, there are 2 pretty good teams in that division. With the Royals and the Tigers, but it's not a powerhouse like the NL East where there'd even be a chance. It's tough. It's gonna be a tough year if you're watching these games.
And as you mentioned, right, they did trade away some of their good players. Their best pitcher, who honestly still had a 5 ERA last month of the season in Crochet. When are they going to trade? I know Clubber D brings them up now, but at some point they're going to end up trading Luis Robert. He's not. They can't hold on to him if they're going to suck that bad, right?
And they got to get something for him too. He doesn't have any value right now. You can't trade him and get nothing back. So, the reason they held on to him was to see if he could get it back on the rails and create some value for himself and trade him at the deadline. But that's not the same guy from 3 years ago. It's not the same player.
Right.
He doesn't have the pop he had. The ball just sounds different coming off his bat than it used to. It's not the same, right? And that's tough. I feel bad for him too. I'm just over here feeling bad for him today.
Well, because he's still a young player. He's still 29.
Yep.
If I remember correctly. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So maybe he can come back. Hopefully, he's playing MLB The Show. Mike, have you played MLB The Show in forever?
My kids will not let me play it. They every second of the day they're on it. So
okay. Yes.
buy it every
As
year,
they should. As they should. That's great. I actually should break out my PlayStation and play some MLB. I haven't done that in a while. All right, let's move on into our teams before we get some predictions and get out of here for the evening. First of all, let's go with we'll save you for last since you're the special guest. My New York Mets. We went out and got Juan Soto this year, so re-signed Pete Alonso. The offense is going to be awesome. But we don't have a number one pitcher, and actually our opening day starter will be a converted reliever who was relieving for the New York Yankees last year in Clay Holmes. Our best pitcher, Kodai Senga, is coming back from an injury where he didn't pitch all year last year, and we're rolling out a bunch of other bums because Minaya and Frankie Montas, Sean Minaya and Frankie Montas both got hurt in spring training. Please save me from my woes. I thought we were going to go to the championship, maybe even the league championship against the Dodgers. Help me here.
Yeah, I mean, the team's good. The team's going to be able to play. I mean, they're going to be able to hang. I mean, that offense is going to be unreal with Lindor and Soto and Alonso, and they're going to be able to mash the ball around. If when Alvarez comes back, it's going to be a really, really, really dangerous team. Can they pitch? That's the question. Can they? Are they going to be able to pitch? They're going to have enough in there. It's a tough division. The Braves are good. You know it. Everyone knows it. That team is deep, deep, deep. So
I'm worried about that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're gonna have some problems. Do I think they're as good as the Braves or the Phillies? No, but I didn't think that last year either. And look what they did. So they're going to find ways to win games. Why play 162? So you could have been in a lot worse situation than landing Juan Soto in the offseason and the Clay Holmes experiment actually working. So I think you guys are in a pretty good spot, especially since I'm not the one writing the checks every week. So
right.
You guys,
yeah, neither am I. So I don't care. I stopped caring about that sort of thing a long time ago when I realized these owners are going to have all this money anyways to waste. But the other good part about this is, right, that Frankie Montas, Sean Minaya are both going to come back at some point in the season. And if they come back around the trade line, and let's say we go ahead and trade for Dylan Cease, like now you're looking at probably a formidable pitching staff to go into off season or into the playoffs.
And you've got the one thing that every team that's going to win a World Series usually needs, and that's like a real ace, an actual number one, dangerous, feared starting pitcher in Senga. So most of the pieces are there. I think you guys are in a good place. Tough division, but a good place.
I agree. I'm worried about the Braves. I know the Phillies are tough. Like you said, it's not going to be easy. It's just going to be a brutal grind the whole season, and I could see us going anywhere from 75 wins and not even making the wild card to 85 wins and being winning the division. So I could see either of them. But yeah, the Braves fully healthy are very, very scary. All right, cool. Well, then we finally move on to the last team we're going to cover today. Your Orioles, the Baltimore B-More Orioles. Man, hey. We've been talking about him the last few years since they started stocking up all the young talent, including who we'll talk about in just a second, Adley Rutschman, who unfortunately had a bad year last year. Let's just be honest. Gunnar Henderson, Cedric Mullins. You traded Corbin Burns away, which I thought was a mistake, but still got a good young pitching staff there. How do you feel about your Orioles? Is it finally their time? We've been talking about you and I, how they were too early. Is it that time?
I mean, I hope so. I think they've got a chance. I don't feel as good going into this season as I did last year, although I probably should feel a little better than I do. I just said, you guys have the thing that I think is most important when it comes to the playoffs, and that's a true ace, a 1-1, and we don't have that. Baltimore doesn't have it. They'll have to go get one if they want one. They had one in Corbin Burns, but he left in free agency. There's nothing you can do about that. It's tough to get players to, come to Baltimore. You got to go get them other ways. But there are so many young players on the team, and the natural progression of all of these players is going to be better. Russman was hurt last year, so he's healthy now. He was mashing in spring training for whatever that's worth. All the young guys, Mountcastle and Holiday and Westberg and Henderson and Colton Cowser, who should have won Rookie of the Year last year. There's going to be a natural progression with all of them. In the offseason, they went and they just built depth. That's what killed us at the end of the year last year, was that at the end of the year, we just didn't have the bullets in the chamber at the end of the year when it came playoff time to be able to hit the ball anymore because of all the injuries. So, they went out and got Tyler O'Neill and Gary Sanchez, these guys that are really building up the bottom half of the roster, Ramon Laureano, and just guys that can build up that depth and make the bulk of the club better, as opposed to just kind of building in those frontline pieces. So I still think they probably should win this division. I think the Red Sox are a lot better. They did an awful lot in the offseason. They went out and they got their ace. They got their 1-1. They got their Friday night guy. And we don't have that. So if I was going to Vegas, I'd probably put a little money on Baltimore to win the division. So I think it's going to be a good year. I think there's going to be a lot of wins, a lot of beating up on teams in that division. But, it's tough to say that we're going to be better than we were last year when, we lost Corbin Burns and Anthony Santander. I don't think we one for one replaced those players, but I think that in the aggregate, the amount of depth that we got makes up for it. I think, signing guys like Charlie Morton and Tyler O'Neill, like I talked about earlier, and this Sugano guy from Japan looks like he's going to be a nice little addition. I think it's going to be a good year. I think there's going to be a lot of wins, and I just hope that, if we make the playoffs, the outcome is a little bit better than it had been the last 2 years.
Yeah, and I that's why I know he left. I get he left in free agency. I get Baltimore is a hard place to sell, but I felt he had such a great year for y'all, and I felt that, it's still one of the best stadiums in the league. You had a good young team. I was really hoping that he's going to resign with y'all so that you could have that ace, because you're right, that is one thing that will hold you down when it comes to these playoffs if the young pitchers that you have are not able to progress as we hope they will.
Yep. Yeah, I think that Arizona team, getting him is a big deal. I think that team there are probably, I think, 4 or 5 teams in the National League that are better than any American League team.
Wow.
That Arizona team's good. That's going to be a really good team. That Western Division.
Wow.
With the Padres, that's going to be an absolute mash fest. They're going to beat the tar out of each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a really good point that you say that. Now that I'm thinking about, the NL East and the NL West together, and then NL is a tough place to be. So now that you say that, that's a great segue. Let's just go ahead and get everything out in the open. Let's go ahead and make our awards picks first, and then we will give our World Series predictions. So first, go ahead and give me your MVP and Cy Young winners for both the AL. Just do one at a time. Go ahead and do the AL first. I'll give mine.
I think as long as Aaron Judge is vertical and able to hold a bat, there's no reason to pick anybody else. He's the best hitter on the planet. There's no reason to choose anybody else for MVP. I think even if the Yankees aren't good, his ability to go up there and, hit 290 and hit 57 home runs and drive in 140 is going to be enough. So yeah, I'd mash Aaron Judge to as an MVP prediction.
I mean, look, you're never going to count Aaron Judge out of the MVP race. He was my 2A in this conversation when I'm thinking about MVP for this year, but I have to look at something that happened last year with a very good young player. He's only 24 years old, going to be 25 in June, and the Royals are a feisty team. Bobby Witt Jr. hit 330 last year with 30 home runs, 109 RBIs, 31 stolen bases for an 8 WAR. And so if I'm going to have my pick, because I believe earlier, as I mentioned, that losing Soto and not having Stanton is going to hurt Aaron Judge's production. And while I don't think it'll hurt it that much, I'm going to go with Bobby Witt Jr.
Not a bad pick. I mean, he's a great player. I went and saw him in person twice last year. He is a dangerous player. He's so young.
He followed it up in the spring training with a 1.129 OPS, 4 home runs, and 8 RBIs. So he's
the kind of guy that can win a Triple Crown. He'll win a Triple Crown, I think, sometime in his career. He's that kind of player.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I'm also rooting for him because I bought his rookie card, hoping that I can flip that for a bigger amount later. So we'll see. Who is your AL Cy Young pick, my friend?
I'm gonna hang around that Royals team, and I'm gonna look real hard at Cole Reagans, left-handed pitcher. I've seen him in person twice as well, and his stuff is electric. If he can stay healthy, I think he's one of the best 2 or 3 pitchers in the American League, up there with Skubal. And he's somebody I really love watching pitch. His stuff is absolutely disgusting. If you haven't gotten a chance to see him because he plays in KC, do yourself a favor and find a way to punch a Royals game up one day and give him a look. His stuff is incredible.
And so we must think that the Royals rotation is going to be just as incredible as the Tigers are projected to be, because if you're choosing him and I have in my top 2 and who I am going to pick, because it's not often, no, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. I was about to say something that's not true. Tarek Skubal is in my top 2, and I believe he probably will. But I'm going with another KC Royal, Seth Lugo, baby, the redemption story from a Mets reliever. We didn't start year after year. He asked to start, and they kept telling him no. And I was like, why are y'all telling him no? He's a good pitcher. Let him pitch and try to start. They didn't. He goes to the Royals. He blows up. Man, they're going to have a good rotation. I'm going with Seth Lugo, barely over Tarek Skubal. All right.
Yeah, eventually those bullets are going to run out with Lugo. I trust me. I watched him absolutely tear down my favorite team in the playoffs last year, but that age, he was 36, something like that. It's the fairy tale is going to run out eventually.
Yeah, he is 36 years old, so you're right. Father time catches up, and so hopefully he can have another good year, but he did have a great year last year. All right, let's move it on into the National League. Who is your National League MVP? And I don't even think I need to ask this, but whatever.
Come on.
At this point, I think everybody knows.
yeah, it's going to be a time. Well, the same thing with Aaron Judge. Like, as long as he's vertical, there's absolutely no reason to pick anyone else or even think about anybody else. The guy is absolutely incredible. I'm not saying he's going to 50-50 again, but I think he's going to be the MVP. He's got protection. He's got a great team. They'll be able to give him some rest. Yeah, he is incredible.
Is he most likely going to be the MVP when it's all said and done? Yes, most likely he will. Not only
because he's going to pitch. There will be some games where he gets on the mound this year. So I think when you add that, you can't discount that. It matters.
Boom. That's exactly what I was going to say. Because he's also going to add pitching back in. If he doesn't have to have 50-50, he could go 30-30, 40-40 and have a really good year or even a decent year pitching. So will he win? Yeah, most likely, but I'm not going to choose that. I'm going to be a homer. I'm going with the new man in town, Juan Soto, to have a MVP season and lead the Mets to hopefully what is a championship victory. So that's my pick. I know it's homer. I don't care, but I did want to go with Ohtani, and I knew you were gonna. I already knew you were gonna go with Ohtani, so I was like, well, I'll just go Soto. All right, who is your NL Cy Young? Sure.
NL Cy Young, Corbin Burns. I was lucky enough to get to watch him pitch for a whole year, and the guy's amazing. I could see throughout the year he was changing the way that he pitches. He was changing the shape of his slider all year, and I mean, he really was. It was like watching Greg Maddux. It was masterful. So yeah, I think he's going to be home. He's from Arizona, back to the National League. He'll be comfortable. Won't have to worry about. Yeah, won't have to be worrying about being in a strange place. He'll be able to go home to his family every night. I think that stuff matters. And I think it's going to make him even better than he was last year. And a better version of what he was last year is the Cy Young Award. So he'd be my pick. I would take him this year.
Yeah. You might be convincing me to change my pick because I had him in my top 3, but I didn't know he was from Arizona. So yeah, that does change a lot because when you're able to sleep in your own bed and see your family all the time, that is a huge boost in morale. So wow. Okay, because I was going to go with the trendy pick, Livy Dunn's boyfriend, Pittsburgh Pirates, Paul Skeens. Yeah, because I do want him to win. What were you gonna say? Go ahead.
This is gonna be tough to beat him for sure.
I mean, look at the season he had last year, and as long as he can stay healthy, which is my only worry with any young pitcher these days.
And those dudes that are out there throwing 100, I mean, we all know what happens to him. Unfortunately, I hope for the best. I hope he's a unicorn and it doesn't happen to him.
Spot on. Everything you said, I hope so as well. But as you know, the history tells itself. I'm going to say I was going to go with Skeens, but now that you give me this Arizona, because I had Burns in my top 3. Oh, Zach Wheeler was my other one up there.
Another great. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going with Burns. I'm going with you on this one. I'm going Burns. So there you go, y'all. Y'all got the AL MVP for Mike Wheby is Aaron Judge. His Cy Young is Cole Reagans with the Kansas City Royals. My AL MVP, was Bobby Witt Jr. And my Cy Young, also for the Kansas City Royals, Seth Lugo. And then in the NL side, Shohei Ohtani was Mike Wheby's MVP pick. Mine is Juan Soto. Yes, I'm being a homer. And then for the Cy Young pick, we both picked the Arizona Diamondbacks, Corbin Burns, after our MLB insider, Mike Wheby, so astutely convinced me with his argument of being home with family and how much that matters, because it does. And now we bring you to the end of our program where we give you our World Series predictions. MLB insider Mike Wheby is here with us. First, let me go ahead and tell us, I went to Baseball America. I read what the insiders there had to say. 5 of the 9 picked the Dodgers to win the championship. All the others were spread over a bunch of teams, with the Red Sox being 3-time winners, the Rangers being 3-time winners, the evil Orioles are in there a time or two. So who is your World Series matchup and champion?
Well, if 5 of the people pick the Dodgers, that means that there are 4 people that might not need to be writing for Baseball America, because there's no reason to expect anyone else to win the National League. I mean, it's 1998 Tiger Woods. It's Michael Jordan in the mid 90s. It's Tiger versus the field here. There's no reason that any team with that roster should lose. So as boring as it sounds, I think that I think it's going to be the Dodgers. And my American League team, it's probably going to come as a surprise to a lot of people, but I really think the Rangers are going to find a way to put it all back together this year. They were really struck with the injury bug last year. If they can stay healthy with that lineup, and they've got DeGrom, they've got the 1-1, they've got the ace. If they can stay healthy, I think that in a short series, that team can beat anybody. So that would be my World Series prediction, would be Dodgers over Rangers. And I think it'll be a great season, though. I think there's a lot of good teams. So anything can happen.
Yeah, and I also thought about the Rangers, took a deep look at their roster, and I agree with you. If they can stay healthy, they are going to be there in the playoffs and be a formidable team to deal with. And obviously, there's nothing else you need to say about the Dodgers, but I don't want them becoming this. And I think you'll like this one, but I don't want them.
Five-time WCW champion. Now, can you dig that?
I don't want them becoming like a Booker T and yelling in my face that they're world champions over and over. Shout out Booker T. We'd love you here. So that being said, I'm going to go storyline. You know me. The professor loves his storylines. And back in 1969, Mike Wheby will know this quite well. My Miracle Mets defeated his Baltimore Orioles in the World Series, and I'm going with it to happen again in 2025. The New York Mets and Orioles, so that way we could go see a game together in Camden Yards.
A few games.
Thanks in a few games. Thank you, my brother. I really appreciate you coming on today, my friend.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
He will be on again with us Thursday night, so y'all make sure to tune in Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Mike Wheby will join Clubber D, the Combat G, Bajo Malave, and myself, and we will have our pop culture show, Banter, Brawls, and Bravado. It's going to be hilarious, so please make sure you tune in Thursday night at 8 p.m. Make sure you subscribe to Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. There's a handy QR code up top you can use to find all our social media as well. Hit that like button. It helps us in the algorithm and will get us out to a larger audience. We appreciate that. And we say thank you again to our MLB insider, Mike Wheby. Appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you on Thursday.
Yes, sir. All right. So we thank him for coming in. Yes. And I just got a couple of wrap-up notes to get into. I did not get to the rankings earlier before I got into the NCAA March Madness. So I definitely want to go through our professional sports rankings for the week. So first of all, let's start with our NHL hockey power rankings. And y'all got to remember, I've been giving y'all the Ovi watch. Alex Ovechkin chasing down Wayne Gretzky for record number of goals in a career with 895. Well, Alex Ovechkin scored another one over the past week, and he is 7 goals shy of Wayne Gretzky's record. He is at 888 goals with 12 games to go. That means he has to have a goal every 1.5 game average. So it's going to come down to the wire. We'll see if he's able to break it this season or if it has to wait till next season. But what's not going to wait till next season is his Capitals will be in the playoffs. Shout out to our NFL insider page, Shane Peacher, who has a tattoo of the aforementioned Ovi. A beautiful tattoo. Washington Capitals, 45 wins, 14 losses, 8 draws, are the number 1 team in your NHL power rankings. Number 2, Winnipeg Jets, 47 wins, 18 losses, 4 draws. At number 3, the Dallas Stars, 43 wins, 21 losses, and 3 draws. The Colorado Avalanche come in at number 4 with a 41 win, 25 loss, 3 draw record. And rounding out the top 5 of your NHL hockey power rankings for the week, the Carolina Hurricanes, 41 wins, 22 losses, and 4 ties. Moving into the NBA, yes, into our 23rd week. Let's take a look. The number 1 team the number 1 team new this week, moving up from number 2, the Oklahoma City Thunder, 59 wins, 12 losses. They lead the Cleveland Cavaliers by 2 games for best record in the league and subsequently home court advantage. At number 2, the aforementioned Cleveland Cavaliers, 57 wins, 14 losses. At number 3, cannot forget, let me put it on because it'll probably be the only time I can do it this show, my Boston Celtics, 52 wins, 19 losses, your reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champions of the world, and will be repeating again. The Boston Celtics are 10-1 over their last 11. Don't sleep on the Golden State Warriors. I told y'all when Jimmy Butler got traded, I said this was going to boost the Warriors up to be one of the best and contending teams in the league. I just thought this was the piece that they were missing. It turned out that that is exactly what the case is. I believe, and I have to go back and check, so forgive me if I'm mistaken here, but I believe they are 13-2 since Jimmy Butler came over. I know they just lost again the other day, but I believe they're 13-2. I have to get a check on that, but I'm sure it's somewhere around there. And at number 5, the team I hate the most in the NBA, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and the Los Angeles Fakers. LeBron and Luka are, we'll see what happens once they get them both back healthy, as obviously LeBron has been out with an injury. But he did just come back from that absence on Saturday. So we'll see how they start to mesh going forward. And I think they'll be just fine. You don't have two great players like that and have an issue. So I think they'll be just dandy in the playoffs, even though I hate them with all my heart. And then finally, I was going to show you the men's and women's NCAA brackets, but we talked about it earlier. I told you the main teams that were moving in to it, and you can obviously look up a bracket on your own, so you probably don't need me to show you. And I can always update you next week after we have the next second round games. But what a crazy week of NCAA March Madness that we had. Shout out again to the UCLA Bruins #1 women's basketball. If you haven't checked out my limerick that I created for them, go to YouTube. It's a 1-minute short, hilarious. You'll love it. And as well, shout out to those Maryland Terrapins. I am an alumni of the Terrapins of Maryland. Both the women and men both advanced into the Sweet 16. Ain't that right, Testudo? Yeah. And yes, Testudo is a Puerto Rican American like myself. Don't be hating on his ethnicity like some of y'all be hating on Paddington because he's from Peru and not from the UK. Well, that's not my fault you didn't know that and you had to learn the hard truth from your brother, the professor. But here I am. And you know what other truths you need to learn? What's that, Testudo? Tell him. Subscribe at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS, for live shows all week. Tomorrow night, the Bottom Line Sports, 8 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday night, the Professor Semanalmente returns again with his special news episode. Since we weren't able to do sports, or since we only did sports today, we'll do news on Wednesday. And then finally, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, banter, brawls, bravado. It'll be Clubber D to Combat G, comedian Bajuan Malave, our friend from today, Mike Wheby, and yours truly, the Street Professor. We will give you updates on the Diddy lawsuit. We will talk about the Hot Tua girl and her meme coin that she rug pulled. We'll talk about Fox Sports harassment lawsuit. We'll talk LeBron versus Stephen A. and so much more. It's going to be effing hilarious. Make sure you're there. Subscribe at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. Thank you, Testudo. You're welcome, Omar. All right, now that I'm completely acting like a nerd in front of everybody, I am going to go and hang out and watch some basketball on the couch. Y'all be well, be blessed, be kind to each other. Have an amazing week. I love y'all. Holla. You know what comes next? 5,000.
He's with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat flow. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated, folks. Get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let them know. man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Sports professor. Oh, shit.